Hi, I'm Grace Lynch. Welcome to my channel. Today for New Year's Eve, this one's about an idea about following Shiva into the mountain. Um, for whatever reason, the god Shiva um, comes into my head. I don't know, and he also shows up in weird kind of synchronistic situations. I'll read something and there'll be a reference to Shiva. I'll ask something about yoga or Ayurvedic stuff or history of Buddhism, Hinduism, stuff like that, ancient cultures, and Shiva will come up. And kind of a mysterious figure, uh, one of the like really high up figures in Hinduism, and and one of the decks that I have that I play around with is a yoga kind of based Hinduism based deck. So it has various cards for different Ayurvedas, different chakras, different gods and goddesses. And I play with those sometimes as part of my synchronicity practice. I am I enjoy playing with synchronicity because a long time ago, when I lost language, when it came back, I didn't have any reason to trust the context I was building because I didn't know why I had lost language. It could have been some way of thinking that had brought me to that place, and the idea of engaging something that would bring me back to it was so terrifying that I could pick up language but never really trust it again. And so, going through my life from that day forward, I found myself looking at the world, but no longer having the usual cognitive guidelines or blinders on to eliminate possible interpretations of my experience. So when I started noticing, the more that I went through the world, I found that there were lots and lots and lots of coincidences all the time. The world is thick with them. And I realized that I had spent my life largely ignoring almost all of them and only looking for meaning that I decided in advance what meaning could be, as if I'm like God Emperor of the world, and I'm really not. I've gotten 8 COVID shots and all the different kind of COVID things, and uh, it has yet to unlock my full autistic potential. I'm joking. I told my friends that when I got my the, the COVID shots, if the vaccines caused autism, that I should be God Emperor right now. In any case, I was walking through my world, and of course now I'm processing not only without language, but my synesthetic proclivities that had only been sound connection and word shapes and harmonics like that gave me a sort of bypass way to gather mathematics and absorb models semantically rather than cognitively, just exploded into connecting in a bodily sense with vision and sound and touch and then cross processing all of these in a way that it came very natural to me, but it became the foundation of how I learn. And so when I was walking, I was exploring my life around campus in the days, weeks, and months after the injury. I was staying in a little room in a house across from the public safety building on near SUNY Rockport campus. And I'd go out into the day, and I would and walk around and see signposts. I'd see people, chance encounters. I would witness the world. I just walk through the world, struggling to like seeing the world, and I'm trying to put words back to it, but I'm not doing very well. It was muddy for a while, and I saw some like so much many unlikely things, and I started to realize how many of these things happened all the time, and I had just decided not to notice them. And when I didn't have any foundation from which to disregard these possibilities, my world became rich and thick with the possibilities of ghosts and angels and I don't know, elf people and mysterious little, I don't know, anything I noticed that was, a little hesitant to decide what it is could have be any kind of possible meaning. And I never dismissed them. So I just took this in. I took reality in this way. And so, um, and I remember that initially I wondered. I had a professor who introduced me to synchronicity from Dr. Carl Jung, and I remember processing what synchronicity is, and I decided, well, is it really just chance meaning? Because do I really believe that? Um, because it seemed like if it was just chance meeting, this occasional thing that was probably meaningless, then it seemed very unlikely that this, whatever this chance meeting thing was, would happen often enough and universally enough for a psychiatrist, a Swiss psychiatrist, or I think he's Swiss, Carl Jung, to notice it as a phenomenon, to name it. So that was out. And then the possibility was if it wasn't a chance thing, it was a created thing that was only glimpsed once in a while. And it was either made, the only thing I could imagine is either made by God, and I thought God was torturing me right now, so I didn't want that to be the case. Or the elf people were like making little magical meanings all over the place, which totally seems silly. Um, and over time, when things settled down, I came to feel like there is a layer of meaning under everything. Uh, it's always there. It's like a coherence, like a book below the world. And as I started looking at the world that way, it just was an added extra dimension of meaning for my life. And it helped me. It gave me a kind of grounding. I don't really know how to explain how I process that way. But anyway, so later on, when I'm coming back and they're taking me off all the meds and everything, I go through brain rehab and nobody gives me any guidance. I was open to exploring different kinds of spirituality, and so um, I I wanted to check out these oracle decks and tarot things. And I remember I got the Celtic Oracle deck by John Matthews, no, John Williams. John Williams or John Matthews? John Matthews, I think. And it came in the mail, and it was all these cards and then a big book that I was never going to read. So I decided if I do it wrong, I'm probably going to open a demon portal and be horrible. So I just put that away. I was never going to play with the cards. And I went into a store, and there was a friend of mine who was a witch and a pagan, and she said, Grace, not everybody goes by the book. You can find your own way. And I'm like, I can? So I made my own deck, but it was basically to play with synchronicity, just to witness it. I didn't have to get anything out of it. And so I made a deck. It ended up being 100 cards, 14 different suits with 7 cards in each suit. The 7 cards represent a cycle, and the play was to put up a structure of positions for the cards to fall in and then shuffle them and see which cards, when I laid them out in order, randomly fell into the space that had a certain assigned meaning. And by making the connection, that was sort of the interpretation. And I didn't know the interpretation was true or false. That wasn't the point. The point was to feel my way through it and give myself a way to experience how the universe brings synchronicity to me, to feel it and to be inside the immersive experience. And what I did with it, or how it played out in me, like it became a source of play and joy for me. Uh, and sometimes guidance, sometimes it feels like some freaky, helpful shit comes up. So that led to getting this Hindu card, which led to one of the things about being different kinds of yoga, which led to Shiva being the Adi Yoga. And I know that all the books I looked for Shiva and what he gave us. Um, no offense, but like a vending machine. And I know that I got the impression what Gautama gave us was all the stuff about how to be a Buddhist. But for me, I came to the idea that they were really gave me courage because they were people. Why did they go do what they did? Buddha went on this journey because he was moved by suffering and had to resolve the thing within himself. And I wonder what Shiva was about because he kept popping in my head in dreams and this deck and everything. I found out that the story is that Shiva loved a woman whose father wouldn't let her be with him, and so she burned herself to death, and she committed suicide. And Shiva had no Sati, I think her name is, and so Shiva went into. She's a man. He went into the mountain to be silent and be with himself to process how he felt and find a way to survive that and work to the other side. And my understanding is the ways that he found, he worked out to be with himself, to be at peace with himself, became the practices that he shared as yoga. So for me, in terms of finding heroes or guides or I don't know, role models for what to do with this state where I have all these conditions and no paradigm and no treatment and no community and no any structure at all, it occurs to me to go into the loss and be with it and find my own way of feeling it and finding the words for it and see where that leads. I don't know where it will go, but I thought, follow Shiva. It worked out pretty good for him. That's all. Happy New Year. Bye.